How to spot adaptability in others and versus in the self. How do you deal with immense change? Be honest with yourself. Are you someone who embraces it and evolves with it? Or do you tend to retreat and stick with what you know? In our humorous term, adaptability, defined as how well a person reacts to the inevitably in inevitability of change, according to venture investor and the writer Nigel Fletcher in a TED Talk, is a must-have trait. Organization wants to team members who can take on new responsibilities and acquire new skills as needed in a uncertain world. Not only is it a quality that you should learn to support, so you can hire and retain the right people, but it's also one you shouldn't build so you can remain indispensable and employable. In a typical year, Frato meets with hundreds of startup founders, and she must determine in the course of a brief conversation whether she wants to invest in them and the company. Adaptability is a characteristic that endures to guide many of those who go on to succeed, according to Frato. Adaptability is not just useful in the tech world, but for everyone else too. Each of us, as individuals, groups, corporations, and even government, are being forced to grapple with more change than ever before in human history, she points out. And there's good news ahead. Adaptability is not fixed, she adds, noting that everyone has the capacity to measure, test, and improve their ability to adapt to new circumstances. Hear her advice on how to assess adaptability in others and how you can boost it in yourself. When interviewing people, trying asking what if question. Frater says therefore a person to picture multiple possible versions of the future and make the decisions accordingly. Some examples of this question might be, what if your main revenue stream were to dry up overnight? Or what if a heat wave prevents customers from visiting your store? Frater gets a sense of a candidate's adaptability based on how many scenarios they are able to come up with and how strong their vision is. People often ask too many questions in an interview, says Frater in an interview with TED, but it's better to ask 4 questions and then go deeper with follow-up questions. One example of a question could be, describe a difficult change that you have recently undergone at work, and a natural follow-up might be, what would happen if different changes has occurred instead? This for the interviewee to consider an alternative past and future. Tell me about time when you were wrong is another interview question that can judge insight. You can follow it up with what is the most compelling argument of those who disagree with you. Fractal says you can often tell if people are willing to change their minds and therefore are more adaptable by asking them to honestly share a time when they believe they are wrong, not when others perceive they were wrong. Instead of learning, look side for unlearning. Unlearning is another important side of adaptability, according to Fato. Active unlearners seek to challenge what they presume to already know and instead override that data with new information, she says. One physical example of unlearning can be found on ski slopes. When beginner downhill skiers are taught the pizza method. When you are at the top of the hill, you point the skis toward one another like a shape of slice of pizza, and holding that shape will stop you from lying down. But as you grow more comfortable, you can't become a great skier with pizza method. You must unlearn it. It's necessary only to use for a short time until you get comfortable enough with the task risk. If why it's difficult to unlearn certain skills that have been drilled into our brains, it is impossible to do so, and embrace change too. A person can also unlearn by taking a new advantage or shifting to another perspective, says Farto. Layering on the additional learnings can also show present adaptability, playing at the intersection of areas where you are not an expert can together build a new set of skills as building block, she adds. This mindset is especially useful for people who are looking for a new job. If you are seeking to switch industry, you can embrace a learning or educate learning to find a new position in a different field. By looking at the individual components and piece of the job instead of the overall title or position, you can see where those skills might be applied in different government environments. Then ask yourself, in which industry is this one skill being underutilized, and you can move forward, bringing the individual pieces of expertise you. Look for signs of exploration. An exploratory mindset can drive clear benefits. As example, Fatu says after she moved to a new neighborhood, she needed to find a grocery one. She walked out of her apartment, abruptly turned left, and found a store a few blocks away where she began to frequent. A few months later, she turned right and stumbled into a grocery store not much further away with better produce section. In an effort to be efficient, she has stuck with the same old and has missed out on something better. How often do you do that in your own life? The part becomes so much more interesting when you wonder, says Fredo. It's better to explore and find ways to break habits that you already have, whether that's trying to watch a movie in different language, cooking a different cuisine, or walking an alternative route, she says. These seemingly minor changes allow for crucial vantage points and create the ability for learning to happen. A person's adaptability is emphasis. You can always improve it. I believe all of us have strong inherent capability to react to change differently, says Fredo. However, adaptability has to be productive, not reactive. If we seek it out, exercise and flexes like a muscle. So, how can we become more adaptable? First, play at the intersection. Let's say you're an expert at marketing, for instance. You can also make that self-knowledge about for podcast. You can become a translator between these exams. These teams seek out opportunities to bridge existing gaps as the organization. Second, occasionally take their views advocates role at work. In some situations, stay away from high-stake ones. You might adopt the position of respectful listener. This will allow you, the boss, and the teammates see things from outside. This strategy can also help you from getting too attached to the personal ideas and view. Fredo says in Tech World, there's an oft-repeated motto, I like readers who have strong opinions with key out. An important component of adaptability is having the ability to form a strong opinion but releases when new information becomes available and make it obsolete. Third, keep a fellow review or log. It's helpful to write down the times where you were wrong, changed your mind, or made mistake, says Fredo. While many of us view these things with same of embracement, you can start to see them in a positive light, as that you have taken on the professional journey and learn from them instead.